We are incredibly pleased that you are joining us today for the webinar, What Makes a Good Leader in Uncertain Times. Important topic, especially today when pandemic of 2020 made us business stressed. And our speaker today will help to answer this question based on his experience and knowledge. While others are still joining, I will give short information. We want to provide opportunity for our leaders to engage, to ask questions, so the time is productive. That's why please, whenever you have a question, put it in a Q&A section. We'll be happy to answer it, or otherwise you can also reach us via email. A few words about us. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Yes, I'm coming. Okay.
Thank you so much. Who we are and what we do. I'm Lilia Trilova, and together with Sofia Binder, we are in marketing department at NMS. And Harry Moore is head of Europe and senior partner. He will lead our webinar for you today. What is our company doing? NMS is a global consulting firm. Next slide, please. Yeah, we are a global consulting firm with expertise of big firm consultants without high costs. We have multicultural teams, and the example of it you can see right now. I'm originally from Russia. Sofia is from Germany, and Harry is from UK. We have offices in Berlin, Frankfurt, London, and Paris, and work mainly with small and medium companies and focus on transformations such as corporate and digital. I think this is enough about us, and I'm happy to give the microphone to Harry.
Thank you very much, Lilia, for that introduction. It's great to be here, speaking again at one of our webinars. A little bit about me. I'm not going to bore you with the details. You can see it on the screen there, but basically I'm a corporate turnaround director, worked across Europe extensively. I've been in the Big Four, partner at KPMG, PwC, but I've also had what I call a proper job in industry, running companies as a director, and all that's entailed with that. I'm also advisor to the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. So that's enough about me. In terms of today, we're going to be talking about leadership in uncertain times, as you can see from the agenda. This is very much about, really, in the form of personal reflections from me. It's not a lecture as an expert. It's really reflections on my life in industry, the people that I've met, the leaders that I've worked with, and some of my experiences in running companies myself. So please treat it as that, and hopefully you'll get some tips and some value out of the presentation today. So what do we mean by uncertain times? Well, first and foremost, to me, it is a time of personal stress for business leaders, a time of great difficulty. And where are we in these uncertain times? Well, we're keeping our head above the water. We are not certain about the future, but we're managing to survive. But life is pretty tough. Trading is difficult. We've perhaps lost some orders, some business. Our cash reserves may be being used up, and we are wondering when or will things improve. As we go on, cash becomes even more critical, but we still manage to keep our head just above the water until we eventually will run out of time, and we reach that point of no return, and we actually submerge, which is not where we want to be. So uncertain times, can we plan for them? Can we predict the future? Well, of course, I don't believe that we can. When we're planning for the future of our business, we make certain assumptions. For example, most companies that I work with plan with a high degree of certainty that the plan can be met, can be achieved. Sometimes they will add in sensitivities regarding sales and costs, etc. They may even consider some risk analysis for a systems failure, fire, server breakdown, etc. However, we would not normally plan or expect something like a pandemic or other major disaster. And a major disaster may not be an international thing, it may be something regional or local or something that's just affected your business that was unexpected. So nevertheless, planning with certainty can be very, very risky. So although we cannot plan for every adverse event, we have to expect the unexpected. And the trick is not to have a plan, but to have the resources, the skills, the management, and the ability to actually find our way out of an unpleasant and uncertain situation. Leadership. To me, in my experience and the various companies I've worked with, I see two main streams, main types of business leaders. There are the administrators. These are people that are very good at maintaining status quo and complying with all that is necessary to run a business and do it very, very well. And there are many businesses out there, hundreds of thousands of businesses that are successful, profitable, and will continue to grow and achieve their objectives, run by people that basically administrate that business. Leaders are slightly different. Leaders, in my view, tend to be entrepreneurial. They're the ones that will want to make changes, will want to grow, and will want to lead the way out of a situation. Will be finding solutions to find a way out of a difficult trading situation. Right, I believe there are too many ingredients for a successful leadership. When I was a young man, I always wanted to be a manager. That was my dream. And I worked at a very large international company, an American-based company that had operations in Europe and in the UK. And I remember going to my boss once, or one of my bosses, and said to him, what qualification, what quality do I need to be a manager? And he said, it's just one thing, Harry, just one thing, confidence. What he meant was confidence in myself, personal confidence. And he was right, but it's more than that. It's more than confidence in yourself. It is confidence in your ability. It's confidence in your plans, your ideas, your thoughts, the way you do things. It's confidence in your relationship with your peers, with the people that work for you. And it's confidence in your team as well. So you build confidence in them and they will look to you for that confidence. That's what they expect. I was running a company recently, 2 or 3 years ago, that was in severe trouble. It was a turnaround, which was done successfully. And every day people would come to me and say, Harry, are we really going to get ourselves out of the situation? Is it going to work out okay? Well, you know, there's only 3 answers to that question. No, I don't know, or yes. Well, I couldn't very well say no, because then that's questioning why I'm there in the first place. And to say I don't know isn't very conducive to good leadership. It's not what people expect. So the leader doesn't know whether we're going to succeed or not. So the answer is going to be yes, but a qualified yes. It's going to be yes, we will, providing these certain things, objectives are met, these tasks are carried out, and providing you, who have asked a question, engage with me and help to achieve those objectives. So that is what confidence is all about, in my view. The second quality, I believe, the second ingredient for successful leadership is one of the most difficult ones, and that is the one of making decisions. And that is one thing that people expect from a business leader. When I was at the same company, every day people would also come in and say to me, ask me to make decisions about what I considered to be fairly minor things, day-to-day operational things. And I'm not a detailed guy. Nevertheless, it asked me these questions. And the reason for that was because the previous management managed by fear. So people were frightened of actually making decisions. The company had been micromanaged, which meant that all the decision making went back to the top. So the idea was, ask the boss, if he gets it wrong, that's fine, nobody's to blame. So they're frightened of doing that. And the only way around that was to empower them. So making decisions is not just simply say yes or no if somebody asks a question. And worst of all, it is not saying, leave it with me. That is the worst thing to say. When I worked at KPMG, I remember working with a client in Birmingham, and I had some issues with the client. I was struggling as to find a solution to a particular issue. And I went to my boss, one of the partners, and told him this. And he sat down with me and he said, right, well, let's discuss it. And what he did, he facilitated us going through the various pros and cons, the various options, making sure that I reread my notes, reconsidered everything, and together a decision was made. And that is what good leaders do. They make decisions by consultation, by working with people to arrive at a decision. They don't leave it on the shelf. So, looking at the way out of uncertain times, again, one or two of my own thoughts. Consult. When I say consult, I don't necessarily mean rushing off to a firm of consultants. At NMS, we'd be delighted to advise and delighted to assist you. But by consultation, I mean really talking to your peers. Good generals talk to their officers before they actually make a decision, before going into battle. And I'm saying we should do the same sort of thing. Talk to our team, involve the team, consult with them, get their views before making a decision. But also talk to others, talk to friends, family, talk to your advisors, talk to other people in different industries, talk to your mentors if you have them. That is worth doing. Consult with others before you make a decision and take advice. There's nothing wrong in taking advice. Quite often I find that business leaders are afraid of taking advice, are afraid of consultation because they feel that I'm the leader, I'm expected to know everything, to be able to make all the decisions by myself. Well, that's not possible. Good managers actually take advice, good managers consult. So involve the team and use their ideas as much as you can. Empowerment. This is a word that's bandied around quite a lot. But what does it mean? It's more than actually just saying to people, okay, you are empowered. You can now go away and do things yourself. It is that, but it is much, much more than that. To empower people, we're saying to them, yes, you can make decisions. And to do that, we will give you the support and the training and the education to do it. And that means the support from management, that if you do get it wrong, we're not going to beat you up, because sometimes people do get things wrong. We're all human. But also we'll give you some training and some development. Again, one company I worked at, what we did there, and this was done by my HR manager, we actually made sure that every member of staff, and there were 160 people, were trained. Everybody had some form of training appropriate to their particular skills, their particular role in the company. Everybody had a personal development plan. Everybody was encouraged. Everybody was allowed to make decisions and encouraged to come up with ideas. That is empowerment. Give them the power to make decisions, give them the tools to do it, and you'll be rewarded by that. Be modest, you know. We should give credit to people when they come up with ideas. And I think it is worth understanding that, you know, as a leader, you cannot know everything. You cannot know all the detail. It is impossible. You cannot do every job in your particular business. There are other people that can do it better. And it is good to be modest and to consult with them and ask for their ideas, but give them credit where it is due. And that's easily said. But all too often what I see in many businesses is that leaders will not always give credit, will take ideas. I've seen an example where one particular managing director I knew actually took all the ideas from his staff and then used them, converted them into his own, and would present those at board meetings and in his reports, of course. All that happened then was that the staff stopped creating those ideas because they didn't get the credit and they felt that it was being abused. So it stopped happening, and that didn't benefit the company. Giving credit to people and acknowledging that and telling other people that somebody's giving you a great idea and using it in their name is good management. And in the end, you get the credit for you because you're managing the business better. So give credit where it's due. That is really important. And be modest about your role. Encourage. I think it is important to encourage people. And we don't have to do a lot. People sometimes are quite happy with a pat on the back or a small reward, or a promotion, by a small bonus, but praise. Just say to somebody, you've done a really good job. You've done a great job, a fantastic job. It can mean so much. So praise loudly and let other people know. I remember one company, there's one department which seemed to run better than others. It seemed to be happier. It seemed to be more responsive. When I looked at it, I found that there was a supervisor in there of his own initiative that created a scheme of his own for the employee of the month, which many companies do. He created it by himself, very amateurish. He made it up his own paperwork, his own certificate, and he did that, and it worked really well because people got praised and were proud of it. People were going with their certificate, were proud of it. So praise people, praise them loudly. Now, blame culture pervades a lot of companies. This is one that actually can discourage people from actually coming up with ideas or responding when something goes wrong. I remember one large company where I was working when I was, again, a young man, and my boss, the managing director, was a large company, I'm a part of a group. If anything went wrong, he always would say one thing: who is to blame? There must be somebody to blame. We need to find out who it is and take them to task. Now, that is not the right way to do it, because that person will be very, very nervous of doing anything again. The right way is to take that person aside and to discuss it discreetly, quietly, privately, and find out the issues and deal with it that way. Blame softly. Inspiration and motivation, I think, are really, at the end of the day, what people look for in a good leader, that they will inspire. And you can inspire by doing the things I've just talked about, and by coming up with ideas, by being creative, and by leading at the front, but by encouragement, by constructive motivation. That will inspire people, that will motivate people. Finally, knowledge. Knowledge is power. This is not just knowledge in the mind of the leader. Yes, the leader should know the market, should know his business, but he cannot know all the detail. It's making sure that the leader ensures that there is knowledge, there is intelligence in the business, and that the company is using that data and using that knowledge to the best effect. Right, finally, going to come into the end, just one or two or 3 pointers. First thing I think is to be creative. It's the first thing, and that is coming up with new ideas, fresh ideas, doing something different, things that might be off the wall, things that have not been done before. I ran a company called Silver Cross Prams, a very old company, 150 years old, who designed and manufactured their own prams. At the time, there's nothing fresh coming out, and the design team were in their office every day doing the same thing, trying to come up with new ideas, but nothing was happening, nothing new was happening. They were just doing their job. What I did say to them, I said, look, I want you to go away, go up to London for 3 or 4 days, do nothing. I want you to go around the art galleries, go around the fashion houses, take time out, see some beautiful things, walk around the parks, do that, just get away, just clear off and go away for a few days. Which they did. People thought I was crazy, you're giving these guys a holiday. So I guess it was in a way. Off they went. To me, it was more of a sabbatical. They went off for 3 days, came back, and they were different. The department was different. They were thinking differently. They were seeing different things. They got away from that environment, and they became more creative. We can do that in industry, in business. We can be creative. Several years ago, I used to take business leaders and managers out on days on a walk and talk session. We used to walk and talk through the countryside of England, where we think about the business in a relaxed environment. By doing that, you could be creative. You were surrounded by beauty, a different environment. Be creative, think differently, take your team away from the business. First thing. Second thing is, you've got to take risks, calculated, measured risks, but business is all about risk at the end of the day. I think you've got to be prepared that if you want to get out of these difficult times, you're going to have to take some measured risks. And the final thing is, be bold. Be bold. Be creative, take risks, but be bold in all things. Finally, action plan. This is straightforward, really. What I was saying here is step 1 is please consult with your team, your peers, your advisors. You cannot decide on the future of your business in glorious isolation. It does not work in my experience. Choose your team carefully. Don't carry passengers. You want people that are going to run with you, are going to pass the baton on and let you move forward and let you win. And the step 3 to me is really, really important. It's something I've always used, and that is scenario planning. And that is looking at the do nothing scenario to the do everything scenario, but treating each scenario seriously, not saying, oh, that's not going to work, we'll dismiss that. But say, right, if we do this, let's look at the pros and cons of it. the financial implications of doing this, the risks involved in it. Do all of that. By doing it scientifically, you will arrive at the right decision. So consider all the options and then choose the preferred one. And having done that, of course, implement and lead. That really is it from me. I hope that's been useful. We do have a package on leadership, and I'm going to hand back over to my colleague Lilia, who's going to tell you about that. Lilia.
Thank you so much, Harry. Yes, our package will help us answer your following questions, such as, for example, are your business goals aligned with the company's directions, or how well is your strategy being communicated to the business, and so on. And for many more information, like prices or other questions, please contact me or my colleague Sophia Binder, and we will be happy to help. I think this is enough. I would like to go to Q&A. I have some questions. And the first one is, Harry, you obviously been involved in managing businesses in crisis. Have it always turned out successfully?
Well, the answer, it'd be nice if we could say the answer is going to be yes, but nobody's perfect. And at the end of the day, it's not down to one individual on these things. No, it doesn't always work out the way you think. Sometimes better, sometimes not quite as good. You know, success is never guaranteed in business. Sometimes there are circumstances that prevail that means that you're not going to make it. But the trick is to make sure that you know in advance that that is going to happen, and you're taking contingency measures, you know, to safeguard people, etc., to get the best out of it. In the majority of cases that I've been involved with, and I guess you will say that I would say this, it has been successful. But usually when I go into a situation, what I do first, I look at a business and I will consider the options that are open to us and the chances of success, and make sure that we're doing all the right things to start off with. And I've got the right team, because, you know, running a business is not down to one person, as I've said, it is down to several, and making sure the team's right. So, but sometimes it doesn't work, because as I've said, it's a risk business, nothing's guaranteed.
Thank you. The next question is, what is your advice when it is clear that the leader of the business does not have the confidence of their team? So they do not believe in the leader.
Yeah, well, there's two options there. The first option is, can the leader change? Sometimes that is possible. Sometimes there may be personal reasons for the leader not having confidence in the team, that he's not really focused on, you know, developing the team. He's not looked at his role as a leader. He's probably been promoted out of his skill set, etc. He simply may not be the lead, may be a leader. At that point, you may have to make changes, and that means changing the leader, and that is sometimes difficult to do. You cannot make a leader. You know, you can't just take somebody off the street and say, "Hey ho, you're now going to be a business leader." Leadership is something that's it's gained. It's something that you are, and that you can develop. But you can't simply make somebody, train them to be a leader. They've either got those skills behind them or not. You can develop them into leadership skills, but if they haven't got the core, you know, leadership qualities, then it's very, very difficult to convert somebody.
I actually have this next question in a similar way, in a similar direction. Are leadership skills something that can be developed? So in what way can it be developed?
Yes, I think they can. I think when I'm interviewing people for a management role, I'll usually ask them what they do outside of work. And for example, if somebody says to me, well, I spend most of my time playing computer games in glorious isolation or by myself, don't do anything, or I have to read books, and, you know, I don't do it, that's all I do. I don't do anything. I don't mix socially or anything. Are you really going to be a leader? And then I meet somebody else and I say, what do you do? And they say, oh, when I'm out, I'm, you know, I look after a football team. I manage a football team, or I manage a club. I look after a photography club. You know, I look after that, the affairs of that, I manage that. And I organize all the events, you know, I organize all that. Or I'm the person that when we go out social with my friends, I'm the one that organizes it and leads things and comes up with the ideas and so forth. So it's those sort of questions. So there are people like that you can see are born to lead, they want to lead, they have a desire to lead, and they've got those inherent skills. So they then can be developed. You know, you can't just say somebody's got those skills, you're not going to be a business leader. You've got to give them the functional training, but you've also give them some leadership training, you know, things I've said today, to develop them further.
Thank you, Harry. The next question is, do you have examples of where you have empowered people and it has made a difference?
Yes, like I briefly referred to it in a presentation. One company called Romite, where it's my HR director with me. She implemented most of it, where we actually empower people through training, and that was the key. And I think of all the means of empowering people, for me, the most important one is that of training people. You know, taking them out of their environment, training them in new skills, training them in, and not functional skills, but training them how to deal with discipline, training them how to manage people, training them how to lead, all those things, training them how to organize. So that is really important, and giving them personal development plans, that is absolutely key. So yes, I've done that time and time again. Quite often, if you've got a good HR manager in your organization, they're very passionate about empowerment.
Thank you so much. That was the last question.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, I thank you everybody for joining us today.